Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. You've been enjoying is the wrong word. Watching us try and figure out what we're doing.
When we started that live stream.
Yes. Well, let's just pretend that didn't happen. We've probably lost like 20 people already, and who can blame them? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Singing With All Ages seminar. I'm going to pray because we need help very much. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time together. Thank you for the gospel of Jesus Christ. We praise you because you are worth singing about. You are worth devoting our lives to. And so we pray as we think these things through now about how we can sing with all ages. Please encourage us and equip us that we would better serve your people in the places you've put us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, well, thanks very much, everybody, and welcome to the seminar. We'd like just to hear a little bit about who's in the room. So we can see names down the sides. It'd be great if you could just use the chat function, which is on the top right-hand corner. If you just put in just your name, where you are, and what you do at church, particularly when it's related to music. I'm going to check something in there, and hopefully that'll pop up, and that'll show you where to be. It'll be great to see where everyone is. I now see that people are also kindly putting in things like "we can hear you and see you, but there's an echo." I can't quite tell how big the lag is on this. Have you worked out yet, Dan?
Well, it was enough so that we kind of started having a conversation with ourselves 20 seconds ago, I reckon.
Okay. Okay, very good.
That's my guess, about 20 seconds.
Good, I'm glad. Well, I put
asking the same question twice. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I can see. No, my prayer hasn't quite finished on the platform, which is why no one else has put anything in the chat function.
That means
given that, let's
crack
on.
Should we come back to people's answers, and I'll say what I was going to say next.
Yeah. You keep talking, and then we'll go through it a bit. Thanks.
So if you've already given us a mention of who you are and what you're up to in the chat box, we'd also like to gather some questions. Perhaps you've come to this seminar with specific questions that you would like to be answered about singing with children or singing with all ages when everyone's in together. And if that's the case, we'd love you to put that question. There's a separate box for questions. I take it you could put a question in the chat box, but it'd be really helpful if you could write these questions in the questions box, because then we can see them all in one place. Perhaps there are particular experiences or kind of good or maybe bad experiences that you kind of want to flag up and say, what would you do here? We'll have a look at those questions and we'll try and address what we say to those questions and make sure we cover them. Are you seeing any responses to your first questions yet, G-Dog?
Yeah, I'm seeing quite a few now. So thanks very much. I'll just scan through them. I won't read them all out, but thank you so much, everybody. It's really nice to hear what's going on. I see quite a bit of variety in terms of who we've got here, different roles, different things to do with music ministry. It's so great to meet you in this slightly odd way. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope this is useful for you, and that it's all right, you don't mind bearing with us as we figure out the technology. I've still got two screens of myself, one of which is quite far behind the other, and it's somewhat messing with my mind. As the questions go up, we'll be able to. The reason we're asking for questions is we'll try and answer those questions as we go through. We've got a fair amount of material prepared, but we don't want to talk about stuff that no one here is interested in. So we'll make sure we'll tick off the questions as we go through, because some of them will hopefully be answered in what we're already planning, but then we'll loop back to them. The other thing to say on timing is I think we're down for an hour and a half. We've only done this seminar once, and it was in person. So as you've seen, it's taken us 5 minutes just to figure out how to be able to hear each other. We're not. I don't anticipate using that whole time. What we'll probably do is we'll get through probably by about 2, and then Dan and I are happy to stick around. And if you want to ask any questions, particularly relating to your situation, then we're happy to stay here. But I appreciate being online all day. It's a long slog, so don't feel like we're going to grind this out to the end. Thank you very much. Okay, let's. I'll just check these questions might be coming in. Oh yeah, great, thank you. So I think we can see you're writing them up. Okay, thanks so much.
2 questions we had so far as do you know any kids worship songs about missions? And the second one is best way to teach the church a new kids song.
Nice, thank you very much. Very good questions. Keep them coming, and feel free to throw other questions in there as we go through. There may be some stuff that prompts further questions. We definitely don't claim to have all the answers. Hopefully we'll be able to give you something that's useful or point you in the direction of someone else who knows. Just a little bit about me and Dan. You may know us. We've been involved in music ministry, Awesome Cutlery, for a few years now. But primarily, we're both dads. We met Dan and I at uni a little while ago now, but God has very kindly given us families and our own kids as our primary all-age ministry. We both happen to be church pastors, and all that, you know what comes with that. And then Awesome Cutlery is basically a hobby on the side, which we really enjoy doing, and it's a real privilege to be involved in, and it means we can do stuff like this. So that's who we are, if that's helpful background. So we're kind of practitioners on various different levels when it comes to music with all ages.
Great, and we've the thing you clicked on said this is the kids seminar, but actually the title we want to give the seminar is Singing with All Ages. Now we're going to jump to some assumptions about singing. We're assuming that we want everyone in the life of the church to sing gospel songs with biblical content and so on. And the reason we've called it Singing with All Ages is because we want to think about involving children, but actually we want to as well think about singing everyone all together. So that's who we'll refer to throughout the seminar.
Thanks. And the other thing to say when we talk about all ages, it's not just ages that this stuff will help with. For people who are new to Christian things, I see there's a question we've had, like someone who's not grown up with church, and we hope, we pray that there will be more and more people in our churches who haven't grown up with Christianity because they're coming in, and so background knowledge of the Bible is going to be lower. So the better we can set things up so they're easily understandable to a child will also help a newcomer understand, okay, that's when we talk about prayer, that means talking to God. Really simple things like that will be helpful to people who are coming in from the outside, and will help them feel settled. So it's a great thing if we have these principles in mind for them. And then there's also people with additional needs of any age, much the same, helping them understand some very difficult concepts in the Bible that we talk about, like words like holy, we might just throw around, but it's a hard thing to get your mind around. And so the third type of person who might help particularly getting these things right is for those who don't have English as a first language. And again, as particularly cities become more multicultural, the better we can do to help people who can't follow a fast stream of English jargon, the better. So those are things that mean, I think, that even when children aren't in, the principles we'll be going through will be useful to think about how you support others in the church. I can't hear you, Dan. You appear to have muted. Dan, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I muted myself because I was squeaking with a whiteboard pen. I've been writing up the questions that have been coming in. So how to bridge the gap between kids' action songs and traditional hymns. And then from someone who hasn't grown up in the church, what makes for good kids' music ministry, I think that should say. But my handwriting's letting us down a bit at this point, isn't it? Okay, so just to pick up where Gareth was, we want all ages to sing gospel songs that engage them. Every time we sing a song when we're together, it moves everybody in the church. And as we sing and as we introduce a song and as we move into that time, we could either be helping people to move towards Jesus or away from him. So actually, even as we approach a song, the way we introduce it could give the signal to someone that this isn't for you.
So in going through this seminar, the material now, we want to give you good ways to talk about all age music with your church, because we appreciate some people are really going to be on board with the idea of all age music and others less so, or they're tolerating it. And it'd be great if we can help them by extension. And as part of doing that, we want to give you practical ideas on how to do this in a way that serves the congregation. My suspicion is quite often people's reticence for all age music is because they've only seen it done not that well, and in in a way that almost creates a divide. So when we say it's now time for the children to have a song, that just makes a divide instantly and says this isn't for you. And as Dan is saying, we don't want to create that. Every bit of church is for church as a whole, and some bits, of course, are more appropriate for one group, and then the next thing caters for a different need. So if we can help people to understand that as a whole when it comes to all age music, that we'll be well on our way to helping the church generally. I just want to make a brief argument in a kind of a positive way for why we would have all age music. And the reason I want to go through this, we assume that most of you on the seminar haven't come in thinking, well, I just want to make my mind up that I never have to do this. But there may be others in your church family who do think it's not really appropriate and may have questions around it. So I just wanted to put out a brief argument why we think it's a good thing to do. This is basically answering the question, why can't the adults just sing what they like? And so we want to think arguments in two parts. I'm going to give a brief bit of Bible, and then Dan's going to give the human side of the argument. So the Bible passage, you'll know well, Colossians 3, where Paul says, "Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts." Now, this is an instruction to the whole church. A few verses later, he addresses children. So this bit is for all ages. So we can take from there that the Bible says we must sing to each other. And that's important. That must include children. If you're in a church family with children, I imagine most of us are, we are commanded to sing to them and them to us. So the question then is not, should we sing songs for all ages? The question is, in what way do we do that? How do we sing to them? And that's where we move on to the kind of human part of the argument. Dan?
So in general, we don't treat children exactly the same as we treat adults. And that comes up in the way we teach children. Now, we don't have to do this, but many churches do run kids groups during the main service. And from experience, we know that when we sit down with a group of children, we might go about engaging them with the truths of the gospel in a different way when we're teaching them than when we're sitting down with a group of students or when we're sitting down with a group of adults. So then when we're all together, we need to think about how we're going to teach, but also how we're going to sing. I guess there are two options that we could have. We could ignore the kids in the service and basically address everything at the adults and hope the children are kind of entertained or there. Or a second option is to flex our service to include them in some ways. And so the approach that we're really thinking about is that second one, that we want to flex at particular points to involve the children explicitly in what we're doing.
So given that, we think a good analogy for all age music is basically the family meal. Think about going for a meal where there are children present, and then compare that to a kind of gourmet candlelit dinner with a tasting menu, 7 courses. The basic function is the same, right? People are fed, but the feel and the tone is very, very different. And if you go into one of those expecting the other thing, you're gonna end up in quite a bit of trouble quite quickly. As we compare them next to each other, remember that neither is more important than the other. Neither is more worthwhile. They just have different benefits. And so that difference in feel, when we think about all age music, have in mind more that family dinner, where the aim is that everybody gets fed, and that being together is an important part of that. And it does mean that you can't be quite as slick or polished as you might like, maybe not quite as refined. And that's great, because there'll be other times when in church life it is more like that grown-up gourmet meal. I imagine most of us, for example, in normal church, the young people would go out at some point in the service, and that is a good moment where you can change gear somewhat, and particularly focus on the adults. So that, just to summarise what I said, it's the family meal is the best way we found of thinking about all age music.
So to summarise this whole section a minute, we must sing to kids. Because we must sing to one another in the church. But we're saying kids are different, and so we want to flex our style to explicitly include them. And then thirdly, the kind of illustration we're kind of pushing for that is think a family dinner. Yeah, there might, I guess there's a bit of compromise there. There's a good bit of give and take so that the children are involved. Now, it'd be great to have your feedback. Perhaps you've got particular questions off the back of that that you'd like to pop in the chat, or continue to add questions if you'd like to. There'll come a point where if we keep adding questions at a quicker rate than we're answering them, we might have a problem. I've just added a few questions onto the questions board here. Let's just move it over a bit so you can read it. Someone says, my daughter is autistic. How can I help her understand the gospel? Actually, songs are a way for that. We can talk about that. And then, should we have specific all-age services? I think the question is, what is your view on specific all-age services? Is there any theology that backs up the argument, I guess, for having them or not having them?
Yeah, well, but let's just whilst it give people, I still think the stream probably hasn't quite caught up to where we think we are. Okay. So if people throw in their questions or comments just relating onto the argument we've laid out, but just to pick up on the specific all-age services question, I think that's right, that kind of what we've been talking about. Dan, you may have a thought. My thought is, I don't have a strong theology that backs up the application particularly. I think it is a question of application. I would say the Bible clearly says we should speak to each other, and so that there must be an all-age aspect to what we do, that is appropriate, that is teaching the gospel of Jesus to everybody, all age, all stage. Quite then, how often you do that, or how much of a particular service is given over to that, actually is up for debate, and probably makes sense to decide as a church what you're going to do. And I think it's the same kind of question, like how long do you meet for? It's clearly important to meet, but it's a bit unworkable to meet for like 48 hours straight. So you have to work out something that does work for you as a group, and that you're clear on why you are doing it. And I think that's probably where most of the pushback comes, is we're not really sure on why we're doing it. So it's interesting, sometimes all-age services are called children's services. Or if you ask people, that's really what they think they are. Oh yeah, this one's for the kids, so I'm going to stay away. And I think if people are consistently staying away from your all-age, or if people are staying away from my all-age services, it means it's not serving them. I haven't made it truly all-age. I've made it so laser-targeted on a group of kids that it's not helping people. So I think you've got to figure out two parts. You've got to figure out how to do it as a church, and I wouldn't point to a bit of the Bible that it must be like this, apart from these broad things we've already put in place. So you've got to figure out as a church family, and then make sure through whatever you do that everybody is truly all age. And you may need a bit of encouraging people to say, yeah, this service includes more stuff that helps the children than normal, and it's so great you're here because it helps them know how to grow up, and it helps them know that these things are for grown-ups too. Dan, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I think I'd just add two things. One is to say, It's interesting that but it happens in the Old Testament too, but in the New Testament, particularly in the letters, when different age groups are instructed. So you get instructions to parents, you get instructions to slaves, you also get instructions to children, all in the flow of the same letter. And so the assumption seems to be that everyone's going to be there and everyone's being addressed. And so I think there's a precedent there for having everyone together and instructing them from God's word. And so when we've got the children there, we're still trying to do just the same thing. We're still trying to preach the gospel. We're still trying to sing the gospel. We're still trying to seek a heart application. And the second thing to say is we just, I guess think these are helpful principles to think about. And as we think about how to bring about change, perhaps, or how to, what to do if we come across resistance, perhaps doing things slightly different. We just made a note of a Bible verse, Galatians 6 verse 2, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. And part of the challenging thing about meeting with all ages is different people have different needs. Of course, different people have different preferences as well, and we are called to serve each other and to carry each other's burdens at different stages of life, and that in itself is a great gospel witness.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just scroll up on my screen to see if there's anything else coming on the chat. I don't think there is, so we can keep going. Thanks very much. We're now going to cover, at least in our planning, we've mapped out 3 different zones. So this is where I think it's on the handout. It says FAQ in 3 zones. I should have mentioned that. Apologies. There is a handout you can download. It's just underneath the chat box. You can click on that as a PDF. We're going to think about the 3 zones, and those 3 zones are church, children's groups, church, and then family second, and then children's groups third. Most of our time will be spent on the church zone, which is probably what we think about mostly when we think about singing with all ages on a normal gathered Sunday, singing together. And much of what is said here will apply into the other 2 zones of family in their home and then children in children's groups. I think probably a place to start, Dan's going to just run us through an activity, and we're about to go into breakout rooms, which you might like to get just to get a break from us. But just think, when people say kids songs, what comes to your mind? Kids songs, all age songs. What kind of different types are there? Don't need to answer that on the chat. Just have a think. What comes to mind when you hear all age songs or children's songs? And then maybe think for the people in your church. If you said we're about to sing an all age song, what would they think is coming? That goes back to what we're saying about expectation. That sometimes people have seen this sort of thing done in a way that that excludes them. So we're going to think about, we're going to go through an activity now, which just helps us answer that question in a more thought through way.
G, have you got a whiteboard handy to just, I know people have got these on the handout if they're on it. We're thinking about kind of categorizing songs in order to help us to think about what different songs do, how to introduce them, and how to connect them with what we're doing and with children. So here are 4 categories of songs that we've thought of, and we'd love you to go into the breakout rooms and have a brainstorm on what songs you could think of that kind of fit in each category. So when we're all together, we've got children of all ages, haven't we? From 0 up to 18, up to whatever the oldest person in your church is, and you might not want to single them out. Or maybe they're like that, I don't know. And it's good to think about which songs help different people. So here are the 4 categories we've come up with. One is the adult category. Now, they're not adult songs because they're kind of explicit in some way, hopefully, but perhaps they're just a bit harder to get into. So let's throw an example out, maybe a classic old hymn like, "And Can It Be?" Now, that starts with an "and" straight away. It's kind of like, well, what is this song about? So some songs you kind of think, this is going to be really helpful for the adults, but the children might not really connect with it. Then the second category that we thought of is called adult child friendly. So this is a song that was probably written with the general congregation in mind, but actually if you look at the words, they are words that children can more easily connect with, or there are visual things going on that will much more easily help the children to understand the gospel. Do you need a board rubber, mate? I've got one here.
Yeah, you just throw it through. I need a board rubber, a better pen, and the ability to write on a whiteboard, and then I'll be fine.
I think before we put ACF for this one, mate, if you just want to say
yeah, adult child friendly, that is.
Yes, mate. Okay, and then the third category that we've talked about is child adult friendly. So this is a song that might have been written for children, but we all know that there are some children's songs that if you sing them when you're all together, some people will zone out, or they're kind of the action songs that just make adults feel a bit awkward. They've just gone a bit too far on engaging the children, so that when adults sing them, I'm talking now about the other end of the spectrum. So the child adult friendly songs, this is getting confusing. The child adult friendly songs are the songs that are great for children, but adults are really happy to sing them too. And then I've started to describe the fourth one, which is the child friendly song. These are great when you're at holiday club, when you've got a bunch of children together, they've got crazy actions, maybe they've got some silly vocabulary or some things that aren't even words, but they're really children's songs, and adults feel a bit more awkward singing them. I think that explains them. So let's go into breakout rooms now. I'm hoping that's going to happen, and what I'd love you to do is, under those four categories, with the people you're with, just to think of a group of songs for each one. Just throw out some ideas. You might not all know the same songs. We're all from different places, but let's see if we can think of some examples.
So just to run through that really briefly now, I've got the whiteboard to point at. Adult songs and child songs. And then these two in the middle are adult songs, but which are child friendly. And these are children's songs, which are adult friendly. And Dan's explained those. I don't know if the stream needs to catch up before people can go into breakout rooms. I think that might be necessary. We have someone who's running the tech who understands it.
Should we? I think there's a couple of questions on here that we could just answer while that's catching up. Would that be a good thing to do?
Oh yeah. So, let's do. And then
we've got a question about songs about missions. What would be a good kids song about missions?
So Seeds Family Worship have got a song on the Great Commission. I can't quite remember what it's called. I'll have a look at that. That was good.
Therefore go, or go. Or
Therefore go. Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? But Seeds Family Worship, and Seeds are great if you haven't come across them, because they take put the Bible words to music. So they don't know what we do. We put extra words in, but their aim is to get the scripture sung. So they're really worth checking out. That's one thing that comes to mind.
Gareth, I think on the screen on the delegate online now, we're not there anymore. So I think people are in breakout rooms. Gareth, let's talk about something, because otherwise I'm looking slightly confused. You seem to look quite happy. That's great. But for those who are feeling frustrated because they couldn't go to a breakout room, let's talk about something that might be edifying in some way. I think everyone's
That's a lot of pressure.
Everyone's back. I'm really sorry for those of you who tried to click on a thing and it didn't work, or who went to a breakout room and it was just you. It wasn't an intended punishment or anything.
It's more like a panic room. It's more like a panic room if you just run into a room on your own.
Sometimes it's quite nice to be sent to a room on your own for a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in real life I wouldn't mind that, but on online it's even worse.
Okay, so in the chat I'm glad it worked for some of you. Well done. Okay, so we've got some in the chat here. So a child adult friendly song. Heather has suggested the gospel song by Sovereign Grace. Can you sing that for us, Gareth?
I think I do. How does that go? I think I do. It's quite a short one, isn't it? It's like only got 3 lines.
It's on Songs for the Cross-Centered Life.
I can put me under pressure now. Yeah, I vaguely remember it. People don't want to hear me singing a song that I don't remember.
Remember the Lord.
I think that is right.
Song, Remember the Lord by Colin Buchanan. Remember the Lord.
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah, okay,
nice.
That's good. Keep them coming in the chat if you want. Awesome Cutlery meets Escape Rooms. Yeah, that was completely unintentional. But yeah, thanks, Richard, for seeing the kind of positive side. Okay, I think we should move on, G.
Yeah, nice, thank you. There were a couple of the comments of songs in there. I was trying to see them. So it sounds like that was not quite a resounding failure, but not far off. So just, I guess we could just do this very briefly now as you think about the songs, these categorizations that we have. When hopefully this has been useful as you were in solitude on your own in a breakout room. When we think about all age songs, it becomes apparent that these middle two categories are effectively all age songs. So you have an adult song, which, as Dan said, it might just pretty inaccessible to a child, and then you have children's songs, which might be quite silly or very, very quick, or just particularly appeal to young children. But the songs in the middle, either type, can be an all-age song. So the gospel song, which I still can't remember, I'm trying to look it up, but my connection is failing whilst I'm trying to be on a video as well. Simple words, I think this is the one. Simple words, simple tune. But when adults sing it, they don't, even like quite a reserved adult can sing it and not feel like they're doing something babyish. And I think that's one type of all-age song. And then you have the other type of all-age song, which is an adult song, but that's child-friendly. So one song we've been doing at church, which is God is For Us, by complete name blank, what's it called? City of Light. We won't fear the battle, we won't fear the night. It's definitely an adult song, but children enjoy singing it, and quite young children. And I've heard people, some adults think that it's a child song because it is that accessible and appealing. So it shows you it can be done. What we as Awesome Cutlery have tried to do, if it's out of interest, if it's at all interesting to you, we've tried to mainly go in this space. There are definitely some songs like God Made Everything, I'd say is definitely a child song. But generally we've tried to be in this space, songs that adults can sing without hating, and also good for children. So those are the those are the all age categories. I've been talking a long time, Dan. Help me out.
So I've got a few people saying they don't have sound coming through. And on my delegate screen now, we're not there anymore. So it would be helpful if you can hear us and see us, if you could just say that in the chat, that would be great. I'm going to read out a few things in the chat that I think are helpful. So someone said, oh, wow, there's loads of things in the chat now. Thank you. I can't find it now. Someone had a great comment where the adult songs that aren't child friendly are the ones that have words in that not even adults know what they mean. So Here I Raise My Ebenezer was the example. My anchor holds within the veil. I think that's helpful. Oh yeah, a good one. I was thinking this as you were talking just now, Gareth. Jesus Strong and Kind. Do you know that song? That's City of Light as well. Is that?
Yeah, and Colin. Yeah, I'd say that's a child song, very adult friendly, to the point of where it's right in that sweet spot. It doesn't feel babyish, but it doesn't feel grown up. It's kind of it's almost timeless. I think it's one of the best songs in that space that I can think of.
So Rosie missed the examples of adult child-friendly songs. Could we throw some more out? I'm making you think on the top of your head, and I'm going to look at the comments.
Sorry. Say again, what was the question?
Examples of adult child-friendly songs.
Adult child-friendly. So some people have posted My Lighthouse by Ren Collective. And that's definitely, now whether you like that song or not, it's a slightly different question, but it's definitely a song for adults, but lots of kids are drawn to. I think that kind of category, often you'll have songs that are quite upbeat, and with a strong motif, whether that's like a melody idea or a metaphor. So my lighthouse, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness. It's quite concrete, even though the meaning of it is a little bit abstract. So something that kids can fasten onto. I think those are the two things. Something that's got a good hook and it's reasonably upbeat. Now, I'm not saying that children don't like slow songs at all, but they are generally the kind of songs where that the adults have that kids buy into. I realized last time we didn't actually prepare any suggestions because we knew we were going to get loads from the people. But obviously with breakout rooms being a little bit of an exercise in self-isolation, we haven't had so many. If you still can't hear and you still stayed with it, actually no, I can't tell you what to do if you can't hear me. That's stupid, isn't it? I might write it on a whiteboard. Just to unmute your sound if you haven't. Have you ever tried to text someone? That they've forgotten their phone? I've done that. Like, oh, they've just got a message. Who is it? Oh, it's me.
Okay. I think we should move on.
Yeah, you're right. Unmute the player. Oh dear. If you can't, I'd be amazed if someone who can't hear is still stuck with it. They're very, very patient. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Thinking about introducing adult songs when the children are in. So we're not saying, by the way, that you should have you should always have the all age songs, so the adult child friendly or the child adult friendly when children are in. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is when it's good to have at least one song that is all age, an all age song whilst all ages are in. It's a bit odd to have none. But of course, there will be quite often times when you are singing an adult song whilst children are there. So then comes the question, how do you do that? How do you introduce an adult song in a way that helps the children? We had that good example here, Rosemary. Is that "Come, O Fount of Every Blessing"? One example we were thinking of is the song "Before the Throne of God Above." And this can be if you're the musicians and you get to do a bit of preamble to the songs, and you can do it. But if certainly my previous church, the service leader who wasn't a musician would introduce, and the musicians would just start playing. So this might be something to pass to a service leader, just a way of thinking about how to introduce a song for that is an adult song, but with the children are in. So here's how I might do "Before the Throne of God Above." I'm just going to read this, so make sure I say roughly the right thing. I want to explain what the first two lines of this song mean. They say that if someone asks, "Why are you allowed in God's kingdom?" we can answer, "Because of Jesus." And this song goes on to help us remember that we can answer that to lots of questions. How can I be sure that my sin is gone? Because of Jesus. How do we know that we will live forever? Because of Jesus. And that's why this song is so great for us all to sing together. And then you can sing. Something like that. You don't have to do that every time, but it probably is worth on reasonably regularly when you've got songs that have lots of jargon in. And as we've already said, it won't just be the children that helps. I imagine if you just ask people, you just saw them at church, said, what's Before the Throne of God above about? They might have to think quite hard before they could tell you, but they've sung it a lot. We can often sing things without really knowing what they mean. So this will be helpful for everybody.
Great. So we're kind of hitting into this question that we had here, just more generally, what makes for good kids music ministry? We want to think a little bit about just how to spot a good song. And so maybe you're involved in choosing songs, or as we're going to think about later, you might be in a position to kind of influence what songs people sing at church, but maybe also at home. Now, there's loads. We could do a whole seminar on how to pick a good song, but let's think about just a few short things. The first thing is just normal song rules apply as you would think through any song you're going to sing, particularly in church. Let's think about the words, that they're clear and helpful and that they're biblical. If there's a compromise in terms of contradicting something it says in Scripture, then that's a problem. So we want good words, but I think we also want a good tune, something that is going to be easy for people to sing. Now, when we're involving all ages, we want to particularly think about adult turns of phrase or just lots of long words. Some adults can cope with that, and realistically, not all adults can, particularly when children are around. Particularly when children are around, helpful just to think through, look through the lyrics. What's going to be tricky for them to understand? Then that might mean don't sing that song, or that might mean that's the phrase that I want to explain when we introduce that song. And then as we seek to involve the kids, let's be aware of asking the adults to flex too far, made up words, scat singing, pretending to be a chicken. Depending on your context, that might not be helpful. It might be that you've got a congregation who are very willing to look silly for the sake of the children, and that's okay as well, obviously. That's just a few thoughts about how to pick songs.
I'm now trying to imagine what context is most suitable for pretending to be a chicken. I'm not quite sure what that is, but if you're in that church, that's a very happy place to be, I'm sure. Just thinking about how to introduce a new song, particularly. I wonder if there was a question around that as well. Let me just.
What's the best way to teach the church a new kids song, Gareth?
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
I think that was from Josh. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. I think the principles apply here just like anything else. I think be positive and purposeful. I think we can fall over on either of those two things. So I've seen the children's song introduced, and it wasn't one of mine. So I don't feel, this isn't like me going through public counselling. But I remember seeing a children's song, and it is a children's song. It's definitely not child adult friendly. It's a children's song. Be introduced with basically the words, "This song's really silly, but it says something true, so we're going to sing it." And that was basically it. Now, it left us in no doubt whether the service leader liked the song or not. But that doesn't help, does it? It doesn't set up very well. So being positive, like this is good, and the positivity is linked to the purpose. So we're going to say we're going to now sing a song that's going to be particularly useful for people, younger ones, or we're going to sing this song and we are going to do some actions to help those who can't read yet, something like that. If we give it purpose, then I think that really helps other people know why it's going on. You say, join in with the actions if you like to help you respond to God. And then if I'm standing there as someone who absolutely hates actions, then I know, okay, that's what's going on. I'm not required to join in, but I can also understand the purpose. So when a family next to me is doing the actions, I don't think I'm not weirded out by it, because I get why they're doing it. We've joined up in our purpose, even though we're different ages or stages. So positivity, purpose, and then not like I'm doing now, keep your explanation short. So just like one line and then get in and do it. And I think what can really help, and this is a bit unfair in a way, because sometimes like we can't manage it, but for all age music to play it well, particularly when we do children's songs, actually, to play it well and make sure there's a clear introduction. People know when they start singing, all those kind of things that can really help to do it. Because otherwise, if it goes back to that thing, if it's done badly, then it'll kind of confirm people's suspicions. Where if it's done well, clear introduction, clear lead, we're positive, we're purposeful, that will help the song it will give it the best chance for people. I hope that's answered your question, Josh. I don't think I need to say anything more specific about all age songs compared to just any song.
So Gareth, I'm just looking at time. I think I should talk about actions, and then I think we should move on to those other two zones, family and kids groups.
Great.
So it'd be good to talk about actions, wouldn't it? Because I think that it's something that comes up whenever we think about singing with children. So our God is a great big God. There's one. Or your love will last forever. It's like a mighty river that flows. I've forgotten the flows and flows forever, never stopping. They're some of my favorites. I'm generally not very good at actions, but I enjoy them. Here are the good things about actions. For some people, they really help to embed the words. That's true for children who learn in that way. It's true for other ages too. So particularly for non-verbal learners, doing the actions, physically doing something, is a real positive. It gives energy, especially if you've got a whole room of people doing the actions. Right now, the real benefit of doing actions is where we can't sing congregationally, we can do actions congregationally. And so actually it enables us to do an action, to express something of what we're humming or how you sing under your breath. So actually choosing an action song at the moment, I think, has a particularly good purpose. Doing actions encourages more whole-bodied worship in general, and in my church, that's something that I love to encourage. Maybe we tend to feel a bit awkward about any kind of physical engagement when we sing, and actually when we do actions, they help us to express something that fits with what we're saying with our bodies. And maybe it's just this, but I think it's helpful in that way. And then it encourages people who speak using sign language, although we probably completely massacre proper sign language when we try. So there are some things that are good about doing actions. There are some cons. So if actions, particularly done badly, can feel a bit lame, they can actually have a negative impact. They're quite easy to do badly. We might just get them wrong or forget some of them, or it could be a distraction. And for some people, it's just out of their comfort zone. So as we think about singing all together, I think, again, we want to say, let's think about context. The size and the feel and the tradition of your church will make a difference. I'm just checking because Gareth was going to say something on this. I'm checking.
Oh, yeah.
What you're going to say.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And we'd say, if decide on what you're going to do as a church or with the leadership, and we're not prescribing actions. I personally don't really like doing them. So I'm aware that they can be a distraction to some and helpful to others. So if you are going to do them, and Dan has laid out a lot of the positives about them, they are really, when they're done well, they're really helpful. Maybe just do it once and do it well. And it's kind of trying to avoid the half-hearted, we're going to do some actions, that being positive and purposeful, do it well. You may have someone in your church who knows Makaton sign language, as Dan said. That can be great, because then again, it's really purposeful and it's not lame. This is how people speak. So we're doing something that can help everybody. Don't put people under pressure. I think that's the last thing I'd say. There are some people who really hate it, and it's great to say something like, if you'd like to, and that's really good. Okay, let's move on to the other zones, because we are time's rushing on. I just want to say one brief thing from playing, introducing an all-age song well. Sorry, I didn't say, is don't try and copy the album. When I do Awesome Cutlery songs, we do some at my church, I don't try and copy the album, because the musicians on it are much better than me, and often they're quite a bit quicker. So just slowing it down enough to let people be able to sing along, particularly those in our church family who maybe a bit older and are not going to be able to spit out words at that rate per minute. Find a comfortable tempo, and again, if you do that well, then that will help people join in.
So here's a bit where we were going to go a bit more interactive again, but I think in the interest of time and kind of failing to really use the technology, we won't do that. You can put them in the chat if you like. By the way, there's some great comments in the chat that we won't be able to pick up on all of them, but if you go and have a look through before you leave, I think you'll find some helpful encouragements there or some ideas. Have a think about when people sing together. Obviously, we've kind of assumed at the moment we're talking about the gathered church. But aside from that, when do people sing together? You might think about a family going on holiday in the car and singing along to a CD. You might think about, I guess, more formal settings like a choir, or you might think about the football stadium. I've been at my boys' football matches this morning. There wasn't really any singing going on there, but when people get together in bigger groups, that happens. I guess that's not really happening at the moment. Some families sing together at the meal table. Some families are really not allowed to do that, but I know families who sing a prayer before they eat together. So let's think about families in particular. And what we want to do really is encourage, jumping into your bit, G, encourage you as guys who are involved in music ministry, who are thinking in terms of music and how do we use this wonderful gift that God has given us for the sake of the gospel? How can you encourage families in the way that they sing together?
Yeah,
let's go into your bit, Gareth. Sorry.
That's all right. You can tread on my toes. I'm very happy. There will be some families, particularly if the parents themselves didn't grow up in a Christian home, for whom music in the house is kind of Christian music in the house isn't really something they've thought of before. And it may be as simple as you saying, "Hey, I'll forward them a Spotify link or whatever it might be, and say, hey, listen to this." Or if you know they're going on holiday, and you say, well, get them a CD, if their car has a CD player, or you can download an album, to show them that they can do this. It can be that simple. I'll say now, if you're on, if you email up, we've got an email address, music@awesomecutlery.com, and if you can think of a family in your church, you say, I'd like to give them a CD or a download, email us and we'll send you a copy free of charge, and then you can just pass that on to them and say, I've got this for you. I want to have a listen as you go off on your holiday, and then you can ask them after, how was it? And it can be as simple as that just gets them going. So encouraging them listening and encouraging them singing, people can be under a lot of pressure to sing well, in terms of technically well, but actually what kids really benefit from is their parents trying, and they'll recognize that and benefit from it.
Someone, we've got an Instagram account, you can check it out if you want. Someone sent us a little picture on that yesterday or Thursday from their family Bible time. So what I loved about it was dad and 3-year-old. The food was still kind of out on the table, and they'd just done a little devotional thing together. And then I think they were in the middle, so you could just see the dad doing the actions for the rain came down and the floods came up. The rain came down and the floods came up, and it wasn't something that anyone else would listen to. It wasn't a beautifully recorded piece of music, but it was using music to gather around God's word together and to just share in the truth of the Bible. And I think that's great. And music is wonderful in that way. And by the way, someone asked on the questions, they said they'd used our All Together Now family devotionals. Are there any more? Yes, there's one more, a yellow one that goes with our first album, but there aren't any more than that. If you've already used those two, there are loads of other devotionals out there. I'm afraid we haven't written any more yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's everything we wanted to say on the families front, and that making it tangible for you. There might be one family in the church you can think of, them, and encourage them, and that will be a huge benefit if they pick up on that at all. I think we'll speak very briefly about kids groups, because then we'll have covered kind of what we had in mind, and then we'll go back through the questions, and we'll have a bit more time to read through the chat if there's anything else you want to put in there. But it's already 2:00. If you're still concentrating, then that's a minor miracle. Thanks for staying with us. On children's groups, quite a lot of children's groups leaders do know and use music well, but I think we could definitely do it more. Children learn things so quickly, and music, singing something people really enjoy, and it embeds truth much faster than being talked at. If we could have found a way to sing the seminar at you, we would have done. It sticks in our minds, doesn't it? And that's actually a lot more engaging. So helping them, okay, giving them resources. If you come across stuff, you say, hey, there's this new children's music come out, point them in the direction of that, and maybe it would talk in partnership with them. You can say, well, there's this. We could do this in the church on a Sunday, or why don't we, our next all-age service, we'll sing this song that you've been learning in children's groups. That kind of thing. Anything we can do to join together the children's groups and then the Sunday gathering is really helpful, because it reminds us that, again, we are all ages learning together, even if we're maybe in different rooms for some of it. Dan, you were just going to say something very briefly about training, but maybe... I'm not sure I even understand what that comment means now. So
Yeah, let's skip that. Thank you so much for joining in. I just want to I think we're going to quick fire through these questions.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do after that is we'll stick around for a bit. And if you've got further questions that you want to add to the chat or the questions thing, we're really happy to stick around for a bit longer, but we don't want to go on for ages.
Any more than we have.
I think we started talking about this and some of you had already gone to breakout rooms. Remember that bit of confusion. So songs about missions, please, Gareth. You said one, I'm going to add another.
Yeah, so I said one by Seeds Family Worship, Therefore Go, all about the Great Commission, lots of energy, and they've got a great music video as well you can watch.
Now, we've got one that's based on that same verse. It's called Go and Make Disciples. And yeah, by the way, in case you don't know, for all of our songs, there are lyric videos that you can use, and they're all free to download from our website, and you're really welcome to use them in any online broadcast. You don't need to ask us for any permission or anything like that. So feel free to check that song out as well. We've talked about the best way to teach a church a new kids song. There was one about bridging the gap between kids action songs and traditional hymns. I think we've addressed that a little. Gareth, is there anything you'd want to add on that?
I think it's probably worth. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably worth mapping out your repertoire and just thinking, what have you got? And now we've talked about the adult and child, and then the child and adult friendly section in the middle. Just have a think, go through what you do, and think, can you find a few more songs to populate in the middle? A varied diet is really helpful. Going back to that food analogy, varied diet is useful, and be on the lookout for stuff. There's no substitute for kind of listening to music. Spotify's really good for that. YouTube's good for that. You can find similar things, and just if you spend a bit of time looking, you'll probably come across something that will help the church you're at. And I think the other thing is, ask people what they're listening to. Quite a lot of people do listen to Christian music. Like, ask them. It's not necessarily that everything they listen to will be appropriate to sing on a Sunday, but at least you may then have, oh, this is a song actually a lot of people know, and we could use that to serve them. So that's just another thing to think about, how you manage your repertoire.
What makes for good kids music ministry? I think we've generally touched on that in various ways. I think one thing I want to say on that is we've tried to talk about children in the context of church family and children in the context of family and how we're using music in those zones in particular. We mentioned kids groups a bit as a kind of bonus at the end.
Just to say on that, just be aware of ideas that some people have, like kind of preconceived ideas about what children's ministry music should look like. I think going back to look at the kids and see how they behave. One of the big things for me, before Awesome Cutlery started, actually, one of the things that helped me think, that's maybe this kind of thing we should aim at, is our eldest son, who was pretty young at the time. He and I were in the car. We had Taylor Swift on, and he was singing, like, he didn't understand what she was singing about. It was probably about relationships, because quite a lot of her songs are. But he was singing along, and like, this is an adult, like, produced pop song, and he was joining in. And so it's not like kids need kiddish music. It doesn't need to sound like Wheels on the Bus type stuff in order for children to really latch onto it. And then taking a song that a child will enjoy and bolting on as part of that, like, theology that's deep, that is deep but simply expressed. You can do a lot, and that's something we've tried to do with our songs, is think big things and put them in a way that children can latch onto, and hopefully as they grow up and think, oh, I understand that a bit more now. They don't have to get it all at the very beginning. Thanks, Dan.
This question is really beyond the scope of our seminar, but I think it'd be helpful to just address it briefly, perhaps. And so the question says, my daughter is autistic. How can I help her understanding the gospel? And it's yeah, I think that's a great question to be coming to this seminar with. And of course, I think singing the gospel, and actually what's been wonderful, I think, I mean, this is just a little testimony really to what God has done through the things that he's helped us to put together. But when we've heard back from families who've listened to songs together and I know there are lots of great resources like this out there, but listen to our songs and listen to sketches, and those have enabled families to talk about Jesus and to talk very practically about what it means to follow him. It's been wonderful to hear how that's been the case, and how actually the gospel has just become part of the kind of part of the fabric of those kind of daily conversations.
Yeah, so I think there's something there about repetition. So I don't know very much about autism. I think that the idea of hearing something simply and repeatedly and being able to engage with it over time is really valuable, and that's maybe more so for autistic children, but all children want to hear things more often than adults do. They'll say it again and think, "Oh, I've really had enough of that." But okay, I guess there's the decision point, isn't it, to be able to go again with them. And in the church setting, again, when we think about all ages and stages, for people in the church to know, yes, there are some people here who would do benefit from this being done, maybe a bit more often than we like. So the gospel expressed simply and repeatedly is really helpful. I don't think I could say any more than that. I'm just speculating. Going back to our argument at the beginning, the Bible says, "Sing the truth to each other." So that's what we must do to help anyone. One way we help people understand the gospel is to sing to them. And then the human argument: what helps your daughter? So if she likes having things all mapped out and written out, I don't know how old she is, but if she likes having things all mapped out and written out, then you have that, and you have all the words for her that she can see, and that kind of thing. Whatever works in the rest of life, bring music into her in that way. And for all of us, of course, as we have different people in our churches who need some extra support, thinking about what helps them and being good observers of people and loving them in that way, and then bringing God's word to them in the way that they can hear best.
So some of you have written some more questions in the chat, which is fantastic. I think what we're going to do is say thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the comments that you've submitted. Thank you for being part of the conversation, and we'll kind of draw a formal end. But we're also going to keep going. We're going to get back into the chat, and so if you want to stick around, you're really welcome to. But if you want to go and have a breather before the next session, then you're very welcome to do that. Shall I just close in prayer now? And then there are some really helpful things in the comment that I'd like to pick up on after that. Let's pray. Father God, we praise you for the wonderful gift of music, and we praise you for the way it helps us, and the way you've given us this ability to appreciate beauty in music and in song, and to express things not just in words but in sung words, and as we sing those, it helps us to engage with truths and emotionally engage with them, and it helps us to respond to you. And Father, we long for the day when we can get back to singing more regularly with our church family too. But we pray that these things that we've thought about this afternoon would help us in singing with children, singing with all ages, with purpose, in a way that invites people to come to Jesus, in a way that helps people to engage with him, in a way that moves people to want to worship him with every fibre of their being. And as we think about this practically, and as we go away and perhaps talk to families or talk to pastors or talk to others who are serving alongside, please give us grace and humility. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So as Dan said, that's like the formal, about as formal as we get, the formal end to this. So if you want to slide off and take a while and breathe there, then feel free to do that. But we'll stay on till past. and go through questions in the chat. So thanks very much. Thanks very much for coming. And just a reminder, just before we go, music@awesomecutlery.com if you want to get in touch with us in the future. And awesomecutlery.com is also where you can find lots of our all of our resources, and they're available there. So thanks very much, and every blessing for your ministries. Let's go. Let's keep talking until everybody's left, or it's half past. Maybe everyone's gone now, but with the other questions in the chat. Yeah.
Can I give one question to you, and then while you're thinking about that, I'm going to quick fire some of the other questions.
Nice.
So here's the one question for you to think about. What would be a nice way to lead the children's group with music, especially when there's no cool band or anyone to help with the instruments? Okay, so give that a minute to think about. I'm going to run through some other comments. Michael Tinker is doing some great kids work. Amen to that. Yeah, we've got to see a bit of Michael over the years. Many songs are too high; it stops people from joining in. Yes, amen to that. By the way, if you're arranging a song, I think if you go up to a C that's in the middle of the stave as your highest note, that's roughly within the speaking range of most people. So even if someone isn't a singer, if it's within that range of going up to high C and then kind of 2 octaves below that, it should be easy for people to sing. Actions have really lifted our Zoom church. Yeah, it's fun to see people on the screens, isn't it, doing actions on the sofa together.
Yeah, just a note on that, without getting nothing wrong with getting too theological, is there? But it's interesting in the Bible how much worship is bound up with physical actions. So if you're good friends with someone who has prefers everything to be very motionless, you could ask them, like, what do they do with the bits in the Bible that say, raise your hands or bow down, or there's even dancing, like King David dances. Like, what do we do with that? Do we think that's useless? Actually, there's what we do with our body reinforces what we feel, as well as even sets out what we feel. So like when we sing happy birthday to people, we choose to smile, even if we're not having a great time, because we know that's what we want to feel and we want to communicate to them. So responding more with our bodies is so useful. Probably as long as we can kind of get over that, if we're English, kind of that English reserve, then we'll be blessed by it. I want to ask that.
For being thinking theologically then.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, let's take that back. I just like kids' music, which is just like shouting. No, just random noises. Okay, yeah. That's that question about no cool band or instruments. So this is a really great question, because I think people, when they think about music, can get bogged down in the idea of like, I must have a drum kit and a bass, and before I can even start to praise God or do something credible.
It's the synth sound, isn't it?
Yeah, you could just get a synth and just put it. This seminar would have been improved with that kind of synth pad all the way through.
Sorry, I'm being mischievous.
Everybody's got two cool instruments with them, right? They've got their voice and they've got their body. Like you can clap, you can drum on your chest. Don't know if that's making any noise on my microphone, but that's how I would do it. I would say, right, we're going to get a simple drum beat going. We can stamp on the one, doom, doom, and then you've got a drum beat going. If everyone joins in with that, immediately you're together. You've got music, and then you can sing over the top of it. Now, you've got to pitch like where it is, and I saw a comment earlier about 10 to 18s. Maybe we already said that one. We'll just come back to that in a moment, because teenagers are a bit tricky. But if younger kids, I think, will love to do that kind of thing, or do love to do that kind of thing. Either like stamping along and clapping along and singing, "Our God is a great big God," something simple. You'll get a really great sound, and it'll be unlike anything they do anywhere else. So being creative with what you've got, and again, being positive and purposeful. If you lead on that, say, we're going to do this because we praise God with everything we have, and we don't have any guitars, but we do have our hands and feet. Something like that. You go for it, they'll follow.
I enjoy trying to get older boys to sing. So the path down wisdom is, if you're in school's work, year 5s, year 6s, so that's 10, 11-year-olds, they don't sing. But I think if we give a confident lead, that doesn't mean being a good singer or being able to play an instrument. Possibly adding a competitive element. So we've done things like, that song, Hallelujah, 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 praise ye the Lord. And if you get them in two halves and see which one can be louder, and get them jumping up when it's their bit, yeah, we can have lots of fun with that.
Yeah.
Gareth, there's a great question here. Sorry, carry on.
No. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say on the teens. Teenagers are really tricky in some ways because they're children trying to be adults, and they're basically succeeding half the time. And so they're not in the middle. They're kind of at both ends, and you'll kind of, I think you'll know what I mean if you either remember what it's like to be a teenager, or maybe you are one, or have teenagers in your church. Sometimes they'll be super grown up, and you think, whoa, that's I can't quite keep up with them there. And then other times they'll be much more childlike, and so it's tricky trying to find music that suits them, particularly when their peers, whom they're very aware of, have an idea of a type of music. And teen music, I guess it changes quite quickly. So don't try and pitch really tightly to them. I think that's basically impossible to do. There isn't much teen Christian music out there, I think, because if you release something now, then 5 years time it'll probably be out of date. So doing something that is credible and kind of that adult child friendly is probably a good way to go. Doing something that's credible will help them, and they want to be older. I'm not sure I've got my adult and child gesturing right there, but they want to be older. That's what they want to be like. So just being slightly ahead of them in that way will help them.
Emu Music have done some songs that are specifically intended for youth. So if you search for Emu Music Youth, they've done a little EP of songs that we've used with our youth here that I think are great. I've got 3% of battery left on my laptop, mate, so this might be my last question from the chat. I think this is a helpful question. Going back to what you said about altogether time, how does liturgy fit into that? Now, I guess I should say, Gareth and I are both in Baptist churches, so we're not in a kind of a tradition that uses liturgy all of the time. But actually, I think most of what we said about using songs together could apply to words that you say out loud. And if you're in a tradition that uses liturgy, perhaps there might be discussion to be had about an all-age service, whether we could use a slightly different prayer of confession that helps the children to understand, or perhaps just think about how to introduce it, or a creed, or reading out some words that are a psalm or that are based on the psalm. And a resource that I point you to for think about that is Engage Worship. And there's a whole range of stuff there, but there's some of it is really good, and they're particularly engaged with helping all ages to worship together.
I think, yeah, if you treat liturgy like songs, like we've said, so you'll have some liturgy that is very kind of adult in terms of its concepts. We do not presume, merciful Lord, to come to your table. Kind of, there are some big ideas in there. I wouldn't expect you to explain everything all the time, but to have a look in your church calendar and think, okay, if we do this very regularly, do we explain it like once every, I don't know, 3 months? Is there something that goes in there and it just over time builds up knowledge? And particularly for children, they're probably going to be coming to your church for quite a while. We hope so. They'll have a chance to hear it over and over again, and you can just open that up a bit more as time goes on. But I think liturgy is very, very useful for that. And like some of my Anglican friends say, independents use liturgy too. It's just we think we're making it up on the spot. We're just saying the same thing as we always do. Any other questions, Dan? Is your battery still there?
My battery is going strong, mate. There's no new questions. Someone did say, can we use your songs in online services? Which the answer is yes.
Yeah,
please feel free to use it in any way that you wish.
Yeah, no need to ask for permission. Just draw attention to a comment from Richard, thank you, saying as an autistic adult, concrete rather than abstract concepts really help. And that's a bit of a danger, isn't it, with songs? Sometimes they can be so abstract. Particularly, no, that's not fair. Just look at some songs and think, do they say anything? Sometimes some songs don't say anything concrete. They're kind of like impressionist paintings. And just want to be careful not having too many of those, because they lack that concrete element that people can grab onto. And Richard also said repetition is very helpful. Thank you. Just going to scan through. I've got comments up now.
Is it true that the picture of us has only just come back up again? It just come up on my screen. You've been shielded from having to look at our faces for most of the seminar.
Wow, if that's the case, consider yourself blessed.
Now you need to shield your eyes.
Thank you. There was another question I saw. Oh yeah, this is very specific to Awesome Cutlery. Any news on resources for lead sheets for Altogether Now album? We've had them drafted for about a year. Oh, it's a year and a half. It's been so long, and we just haven't quite made the time to go through them and make sure there aren't any mistakes and then format them correctly. So if there's a song you want to do, we'll email it to you. Just drop us a note, music@Awesome Cutlery. We've been trying we didn't want to put them out in case there were errors on there and then everyone was seeing wrong versions. We would like to do it. You've very kindly said, is there any way we can help to make that happen? Your encouragement is appreciated, and it may be something we'll look at as churches start meeting together more now as well and doing the songs. Thank you very much for asking.
Is it fair to say if someone had, we've got the scores in some kind of format, haven't we?
Oh yeah, people can, if you want it, email us and we'll email you what we've got.
What I was saying is, if someone's an expert in scores and wants to go through them and listen to the album and check for mistakes and get them down to one page for us, you'd be very welcome to to help us with that. I think we've done 80% of the job, haven't we? And it's just we haven't managed to finish it. Yeah,
it's error checking. It's like kind of completing something we've not quite managed. What songs do you mainly sing in your church? Seeing that question. I'm not quite sure where I am. We have a mix, so we always try and do a hymn. This is in normal life. We always have a hymn on a Sunday morning. We always have an all-age song, and certainly kind of probably adult friendly even, and then mostly other adult songs once the children have left. That's our regular diet, and we have a repertoire of around, I don't know, about 100 songs or so. But yeah, music's a work in progress for where we are. So that will hopefully develop as things go and as we start coming back and meeting more often. I think that was
something amazing happened, mate. My battery went up from 1% to 2%. It's not even plugged in. Where did those electrons come from?
It's because you're so dynamic. Static electricity from your hair? I don't know. Thank you. I think we're done for questions. I'm trying. I think we might have missed some stuff right back at the beginning, but the chat thing's so small. It probably rather than watching me like kind of crawl through the final remaining lines of chat. If we haven't answered your question or you think of something else, I'll say it one more time. music@awesomecutlery.com. Very happy to hear questions. We're happy to chat to people on the phone as well. If you've got something you think, actually, I've got a bigger issue at church, just like to bounce off someone not in my setting, I'm very happy to talk to you another time. That's definitely possible. So I think we'll say, having formally closed about 10 minutes ago, we're now going to actually close and say thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your questions. Thank you for bearing with it. It's been an encouragement to me that there's still some people stayed through. And I'm very, I'm grateful for that. So thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you in real life at some point.
Bring it on. That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.